Hello, everyone. This is the TigerRag.com Audibles podcast. I'm Jeff Palermo from the Louisiana Radio Network, along with the editor for Tiger Rag, Todd Horne. The TigerRag.com Audibles podcast brought to you by Paw Paw's Campers and Cars, pawpawrvs.com. You can give them a call at 1-800-728-2267. LSU and Florida State, as we record this, 2 days away from kickoff. And already we've seen some interesting college football, and we also know that Coach Brian Kelly is pretty confident going into this game against Florida State.
I'll say.
We'll get to that here in a moment. First, this commercial break from our sponsor.
Hey neighbors, we're not that far from where you are. Make that short drive to Paw Paw's Campers in Picayune and see our Wildwood, Catalina, Sportsman, and Zinger trailer lines and our Rockwood and Heritage Glen fifth wheel lines. From Houma to Hammond, Biloxi to Jackson, and Mobile and Pensacola, we're not that far from where you are. Come and see us.
You're gonna love the way we deal. Paw Paw's Campers City and Picayune. You're gonna love the way we deal.
We're back here on the TigerRag.com Audibles podcast. I'm Jeff Palermo, along with Tiger Rag editor Todd Horne. And Todd, really throughout preseason camp, you've been able to tell there's just this comfort level with Coach Brian Kelly. He feels really confident about this team. I think he feels so much more secure in his surroundings, and you can easily understand why, right? Total culture change coming down from the Midwest. Having to upheaval the entire roster, whole new staff, whole new surroundings. But, man, he just seems so comfortable, so secure and confident in this LSU football team.
So, Jeff, you and I have talked a number of times since fall camp started. And you know, we've talked as a staff amongst each other. The narrative around LSU football this fall has been that Brian Kelly is very happy with the progress the team has made, but it's always compared to last season. They're like 10 steps ahead of where they were last year. They're like 15 steps ahead of where they were last year. I've looked at this all along, and I've sort of reading between the lines, listening to how he answers certain questions, and I've thought that he's conveying much more confidence than just about compared to last year. Of course, he's not going to come right out and say, I think we're going to kick their ass or we're going to blow them away or anything like that. I didn't think.
Right.
I thought he was just being politically correct. He's a very politically correct, very politically astute, a very eloquent coach, very intelligent. But he did not back away last night at his coach's show from laying it on the line. I didn't think.
No, he did not. Let's go ahead and hear what Coach Brian Kelly had to say about playing Florida State on Sunday night.
Say that there are still some areas that need to be improved. We're going to take 15 freshmen on this trip and 14 transfers. So nearly 40% of this travel roster are going to go overnight for the first time with LSU. So, and that's not a disclaimer of any kind. We're going to go beat the heck out of Florida State. But I guess what I'm saying is we're still developing our football team with new players, freshman players, transfer players. So we're still in that process of developing, and it's only going to get better.
So they're going to go beat the heck out of Florida State. So, Todd, was he playing to the crowd? Of course, the coach's show is done from TJ Ribs here in Baton Rouge, and there's a big crowd there. Is he just playing to the crowd, or does he really believe they're going to beat the heck out of Florida State?
I think Brian Kelly at that particular moment is not playing to any crowd. I think he was bubbling up and probably said more than he wanted to say publicly. But I think that's what he's been saying all camp. I think when you look at the national narrative for this game, everybody, and ever since Mason Smith went down, or with not down with an injury, suspension with a suspension from the NCAA, the public sentiment, the national sentiment towards predicting the game has changed. It has become more and more people saying Florida State was going to win. Dan Mullen on ESPN last night before that. What was going on with Florida last night? We'll talk about that in a second. But Dan Mullen last night picks Florida State. No one with an ounce of football knowledge, in my mind, could look at LSU's roster and Florida State's roster and think that LSU will not beat them on a neutral field or even a visiting field, in my mind. And I have felt that all along this season, Kelly has felt that way. He is very happy, going back to what we were talking about a minute ago, with the progress his team is making, not just in terms of contrasting it to last season, but in terms of where they need to be this year in order to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. LSU's goals are to win the national championship in 2023, which I guess would be the 2024 national championship. He's been sitting on that, but every time he answers a question in the press conferences, it is with a bend towards, I'm very comfortable, happy with how we've prepared, where we are, what we've accomplished technically, tactically, skillfully, mentally, physically. We're happy with the way the defensive secondary looks. We're happy with the cornerback room, which everybody's paranoid about. We're happy with the running back room. We're happy. Just you can go down a list. You can go down a list. He's been happy, happy, happy. Florida State was 10-3 last year. They have a great quarterback. They have a great defensive player in Jared Verse. They have a strong offensive line. They have a great running back. They have a great receiver. LSU has all that and more. LSU plays in the Southeastern Conference and beat 2 top 10 opponents last year, including Alabama, the vaunted Alabama. All right? Florida State lost 3 games in a row. Florida State struggled to beat that sorry Florida team that we watched on TV last night in their last game of the season last year. I am not putting down Florida State. I'm telling you, they're in a different league. This is a different level of football. And I think Kelly's been holding back, and I think he couldn't hold back last night.
And it probably, looking at all these preseason projections, there's a lot of the national media does not have LSU in the Final Four. There are still people picking Alabama over LSU.
So Kelly's in a no-lose situation right now. This guy is so smart, okay? What he's done is he said, look, we're making progress. We're going to kick their butts. Paraphrase, right? But we did have to remake 40% of our roster.
Yeah.
I think we've prepared well. I've been coaching for 30-plus years. I've coached at the highest level in Notre Dame. I know what preparation is, and I know what we expect going in. But if we don't perform up to snuff, then we're playing a great team.
Right.
He's in a no-lose situation almost, right? Even if LSU loses this game, or if Florida State loses, neither one of them are out of the national picture. To your point, very few people are predicting LSU to be in the college football playoffs right now. Very few people are predicting Florida State to be in there. No one would be surprised if either one of them make the college football playoffs at the end of the year. But LSU and Brian Kelly believe right now that they're going in and they're going to kick butt. And I think that's why you hear all those cheers from LSU fans, because that's the way not only does an LSU fan want to feel, but I think if you're a college football analyst like you are, you look at the scope of everything and you think LSU's a better football team, with or without Mason Smith.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you who's not a good football team, Todd. That's the Florida Gators. And are there Florida fans looking for receipts on the hiring of Billy Napier? It's just one game, but it was a disastrous game. First offensive play for Utah, touchdown. You had a situation where Florida was penalized for having 2 guys wearing the same jersey number on the field at the same time. That's Les Miles stuff there, man.
Right to the head coach's responsibility, right?
Yes.
Ultimately at the end of the day. And Jeff, that 4th down, that substitution infraction where they had two number threes, which should have never happened.
Yeah.
Occurred on a 4th down and 1, with the score 7-3 Utah. I think it was the very next play. If not, it was the play after. Utah goes up 14-7.
Yeah.
Ball game over, in effect,
right
then.
So let's go back to November of 2021, right? Yep, November of 2021. Ed Orgeron is
Which door do I go to? Give me my money. Which door do I go to?
Ed Orgeron's a lame duck coach, counting down the days to where he doesn't have to coach them anymore, and LSU is on an aggressive search to find a new head coach. And there were a lot of people saying, hey, there looks like a good up-and-coming coach, whatever it is, 45, 50 miles to the west of LSU. I know it's the Sun Belt, but, hey, this guy, he's worked with Nick Saban. He's had a really good program at UL Lafayette. Maybe LSU doesn't have to go very far to find the next head coach. And there was a good contingent of LSU fans that said maybe that might be the guy. Now, granted, there were a lot saying, no way, can't hire a guy from the Sun Belt. No way, can't hire a guy who's coaching at UL Lafayette. You can't do it. Go get somebody else, but not him. Scott Woodward never really looked at Billy Napier as far as if we believe everything that's out there. And boy, does it look like, at the moment, now Florida can turn things around. Maybe it was just one bad night, but it still didn't look good. But it just shows you the stealth operation that Scott Woodward was working with, because nobody had Brian Kelly in their list of potential coaches. And LSU, here they are. As we fast forward from November of 2021 to August, now September of 2023, and you look at where LSU's at, and Florida is saying there's got to be a lot. The board, people in the administration, I would love to see the text messages and the phone calls that are being made today.
Scott Woodward looks like a genius.
Yeah.
Because Brian Kelly was not a fit at all if you look at it from the perspective of the typical Louisiana football fan, LSU football fan. He didn't have the right, inflection in his voice. He didn't have the right tone.
How is he going to recruit kids from the South?
How's he? He's doing a pretty good job of that, right? I think he's locked down 8 of the top 10 recruits.
Can't win the big game.
Can't win the big game. He kind of took care of that in the first season.
Yeah.
Billy Napier went 13-1 in 2021. Pearson Lussey did this research for me. Went 11-1 in 2020. His only loss was to a red-hot Coastal Carolina team that year. 11-3 in 2019, and of course started out 7-7, but lost the Sun Belt Championship to Appalachian State before losing to Tulane in a bowl game that year. Of course, 2020 was the COVID year, but they still played 12 games. So you're looking at it at that time, and you're thinking, okay, well, we got a red-hot coach here for Woodward. Like you said, ignored all that. Did not even interview the guy, right?
Right. Probably never even looked at his resume. Didn't even Wikipedia him.
Yeah, and yet we even have columnists that are very close to this publication, Tiger Rag, who's a good friend of mine, by the way. I will not say his name right now to spare him the indignity. Yeah. But he thought Billy Napier should have been the choice. Billy Napier will not have a job if there is not significant improvement in Florida next week. Mm-hmm. He will not make it halfway through the season. He will be getting his own little tote bag of money and shown which door to go out of, similar to the way Ed Orgeron was. Florida has now had 2 consecutive losing seasons. They look like a junior college team last night, and I am not exaggerating. That's my opinion.
And they have a quarterback with a bad Big Ten name.
Yeah, what is that?
Graham Mertz.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of name is that? Yeah, actually, you know what though? I was surprised. I watched him at Wisconsin. I know he had an interception problem at Wisconsin, But last night he was playing in a completely different offense, and I don't think he was the problem last night.
The offensive line was horrible.
The offensive line was horrible, and that Florida team, and I think even one of the announcers last night, I don't know if it was Herb Street or whatever the other guy's name is, I can't think of it
Chris
right
Fowler.
now. Chris Fowler. I think they remarked on this, and it was so true. It was obvious. I was thinking it before. That did not even look like a Southeastern Conference team. They were big, but they could barely move. And that's what Fowler said, if I'm not mistaken. It was Fowler that you're not gonna be able to compete in the Southeastern Conference. That's exactly what we're talking about with Florida State and Florida. With Florida State and LSU, it's two different types of football. That's why they're getting away from this Power 5 and they're moving quickly towards a Power 2. Mm-hmm. Is Florida State actually going to be part of that Power 2?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, maybe they will be. They're coming back. But they had 2 consecutive losing seasons before going 10-3 last year and not beating a top 10 team. Now, I'm not disrespecting them. I think Jordan Travis is a great quarterback. And as Kelly said in his Southeastern Conference press conference earlier this week, he's a competitor. He refuses to lose, and he's a winner. Blah, 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 coach speak.
Yeah.
He's good. Well, he lost 3 consecutive games last year to subpar teams and barely beat this very bad Florida team last year. Bottom line is Scott Woodward looks like a genius for bringing in Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is ready to go down to Orlando and take his 40% new roster and scalp some Seminoles. And I think that's what's going to happen.
Let's take a quick break and once again hear from the TigerRag.com Audibles podcast sponsor, Paw Paws Campers and Cars.
People come from everywhere to Paw Paws Campers and Cars.
Only Paw Paws Campers and Cities. Paw Paws Campers and Cars are people. And we're going to let it go for I forgot. Take the whole family over to Picayune. We got something for you. All right. What else we going to say? PawPawsNicePrice.com. That's probably all we need to say.
All right, back on the TigerRag.com Audibles podcast, Jeff Palermo and Tiger Rag editor Todd Horne. Couple of other updates here before we go. John Emery, we have a little bit more information on him. He's not playing against Florida State, and he will not play in a home opener against Grambling State. I had to Google the Buckley Amendment last night, Todd. That's what Brian Kelly said. He could not get into any information because of the Buckley Amendment.
Privacy law surrounding the student's education. Any comment that he would make about why John Emery cannot play or is ineligible for the first 2 games obviously involves his academic progress. So that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we know, judging from what the Buckley Amendment is about. It's about privacy laws around your education.
It is the 3rd consecutive season opener John Emery will not play in. He did not play last year because of academics, did not play at all in 2021 because of academics, and now this is the 3rd consecutive year.
I'd also like to add that he is one of only 2 players, I believe, that played on the 2019 National Championship Tigers.
And this is where I do give John Emery credit. He could have easily at the end of last season said, you know what, I'm done with this. School's not for me. Let me go to the NFL. But obviously he's trying to get his degree. And
I still, Jeff, you know I love me some John Emery. I think that he is a dynamic, game-breaking, game-changing running back. So I think LSU needs him to come back, even though they're locked and loaded in the running back room. But there's also another running back that's not playing.
Armani Goodwin is out. So sounds like it's not going to be too long he's going to be out, but heck, they still have 6 other running backs to go to.
That's right. And who do you think is going to start tomorrow night? Or Sunday night, I should say.
It'll be either Josh Williams or Noah Cain.
Yeah, I think if Josh Williams, who's listed as probable on the injury report right now, but he's dressed and he'll be there, and he's got the most experience. He's a 6th year. He's the other player that played on 2019.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be Noah Cain. I think because of the consistency he's had in practice, he's also a lot faster. But I think you're going to see some other players back there too, including Logan Diggs.
Yes, we'll certainly see Logan Diggs. All right, we'll leave you on this. after the game, Sunday night winds down, hopefully done by 10 o'clock with the new clock rules here. I'm excited about that. Who is a player, Todd, that after the game is over with, and I'm not talking about one of the top players. I'm not talking about Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Perkins. I'm talking about maybe a guy that has yet to shine yet for LSU, but when this game is over with, you're going to say, dang, that is a really good player, or he had a heck of a game. Who's your guy?
Andre Sam.
Ooh.
Transfer safety. LSU is going to be playing a lot of nickel, a lot of dime, and a lot of three safety sets. I think Andre Sam, who has had a strong camp, is going to be a key to LSU shutting down Florida State's passing game.
I am going to stay on the defensive side of the football, and I'm going to go with Savion Jones. I think he's going to have a huge game. He's got quite the motor. He's going to get after the quarterback. I think you're going to sit there and say, boy, that guy, buckle up, get ready, opposing quarterbacks, because you're going to have to be dealing with this dude all year.
I can't argue with that. He's had a great camp as well, and when we talked to him, he was fired up and ready to rock and roll.
Well, that does it for the TigerRag.com Audibles podcast. Once again, want to thank our sponsor, Paw Paws Campers and Cars. Go to their website, pawpawsrvs.com, 1-800-728.
You're not getting away from me that quick.
Well, you need a prediction?
I need a prediction from you because I'm already on the record, LSU 48, Florida State 27, and now I'm thinking about backing off of that 27 a little bit.
I got 31-24 LSU.
You're a closey. We're going to
It's the first game.
Play what Kelly said again. Nah, I'm just kidding. All right.
31-24.
Right.
31-24 LSU.
All right.
In November, I'd say LSU wins by a couple touchdowns when they're or in October. October is always a good month for LSU.
All right.
So, all right. Again, that does it for the Tiger Rag Audibles podcast. We'll be back with you again after the game. Hopefully a win for LSU. And once again, want to thank our sponsor, Paw Paws Campers and Cars, pawpawsrvs.com.